Hi everyone, so if you're new here, I'm Damaris and I created Rainbow Vegans Rock, and on my channel I talk about vegan things and eco-friendly things. So today's video is something that I've been considering for a long time. Is zero waste even possible? And what is the actual true zero waste definition? Because it's not what you'd think. If you can stay tuned for the end of the video, I've got a shout out this week. To start with, years ago when I first heard the term zero waste, I always thought that it was something that only applied to the people that would collect all of their waste in a month or a year and put it into one of those mason jars. However, this is something that people do as more of a gimmick, and it's not, and it doesn't, in my opinion anyway, portray the true meaning of zero waste at all. So in a previous video I did actually talk about, is the zero waste lifestyle only for the privileged? I'll link that video here if you wanted to check that out. So to start with, zero waste, the true zero waste definition is, as an adjective, generating little or no waste. For example, a zero waste event or zero waste manufacturing. So that's what it's come to be known as now, essentially. So zero waste as a noun is the creative waste management strategy of zero waste, is a combination of community and industrial responsibility, deconstruction in spite of demolition, composting to keep odorous organic waste out of landfills, recycling, and a screening facility to allow more separation and reuse of waste rather than incineration. So I thought that was really interesting, so I decided to actually look into the history behind zero waste and where it actually comes from. So the term was first used by Paul Palmer in the 1970s. He coined the phrase initially, and then he went on to create the Zero Waste Institute, which was a way of disposing of chemical waste from laboratories. I'll leave links to all of my sources down in the description box in case you wanted to find out more about this. So Bea Johnson in Our Century made the term popular after her blog Zero Waste Home, where she influenced thousands of consumers to lead a more sustainable life, and she reawakened the phrase, let's say. So zero waste, the true definition, explained simply. So the original definition of the term was to get businesses away from the current linear system, which is called cradle to grave. So this starts with material extraction right the way through to the final product being disposed of in landfill by the consumer, essentially. And this is also known as an open loop system. So cradle to cradle is what the zero waste terminology is aiming for. It's a circular model aiming to reduce waste. It promotes a closed loop system which strives for zero waste through reduction, reuse and recycle, also known as a circular economy. So the definition for a circular economy is a framework for an economy that is restorative and regenerative by design. So this came from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation website. I'll leave a link in the description for this as well, like I said. They've also got a really interesting video, only a few minutes long, on their website, which I enjoyed. It just sort of showed that we should be replicating nature in our business and our economy, following the way that plants grow and then animals eat the plants, everything dies and returns to the soil. That was the summary of what they're saying a circular economy would be aiming for. So obviously I hope that makes sense. I kind of went down a rabbit hole when I was researching, and I found it really interesting to find out what the true definition of zero waste means and how it is more of a business model, and it was never meant to be for consumers, you see. So what zero waste actually means to me is not about absolutely creating no waste whatsoever and storing it in a jar, for example, or the minimal bits of plastic, storing it in a jar, because I think it's a lot more complicated than that. Most people like myself that are trying to live a more zero waste or sustainable lifestyle in general will always create some sort of waste. In the current systems that we are within, it's almost impossible not to create waste at all. Despite that though, I'm always looking at my family's consumer behaviour, and I'm always trying to adjust the way we live our lives to try to reduce our carbon footprint and reduce waste as a household. So as I've said several times on my channel before, we always look for secondhand first, repair things, and I just avoid unnecessary purchases altogether. I'll leave a link to my No Buy Year video because that's my challenge for 2021. So I just want to read this quote because this isn't obviously one of my weekly quotes as such, but I just really like this quote and I think it's really relevant. We don't need a handful of people doing zero waste perfectly, we need millions of people doing it imperfectly. And that's an Anne-Marie Bonvoy. Oh my goodness, I hope I haven't butchered that name there. I just think that's such a great quote, and that's truly how I feel about it. I think if we personally take responsibility for it and do as much as we can, that's the best thing that we can do. So after looking at all of this, it made me come back to the question, is zero waste even possible? So from the true definition of the word, I do think it definitely is possible. A circular economy, a better way for our society to do things would be amazing, and I think it definitely is doable. For example, if the main issue is with larger items, which obviously take a lot of resources to produce, like washing machines and all of these big appliances that in Western society are generally needed. I think if there was more of a circular economy where we would always return these to the manufacturer for repair, etc., then that has got to be a better way of doing things rather than them just ending up in landfill. Oh my goodness, I really need to cut my fringe. So sorry. You probably can't even see my eyes anymore, it's getting bad. So on a consumer level, it's very difficult to be completely zero waste because of these systems that are currently in place for us. It doesn't encourage people in society, consumers, to get things repaired. When you think of mobile phones, for example, the manufacturers are constantly making brand new mobile phones, trying to encourage you to upgrade and dispose of your previous one. There's no kind of encouragement to use what you have. That being said, there are a lot of things and a lot of problems which are completely outside of our control, and I think that's important to remember. So although being completely zero waste as an individual is not possible, it is also not our personal responsibility to fix all of this. And I kind of, with my determination to change the world and help other people to live more sustainably and just have a better influence, with that, I know sometimes I can let that get on top of me, and they call it eco-anxiety, and I get that if I stress out about it too much. So I need to stop that. That's a bad pattern to get into. So like I said, although it is obviously virtually impossible to create no waste at all, for most people I would say, I think we just need to redefine what zero waste actually means. It's such a widely recognised term that for influencers, other creators like myself, it is a term that is used and will continue to be used, I would imagine, for the foreseeable future. And I know myself, I have referred to things as being zero waste in the past when actually that isn't correct, because it's still got, say, cardboard packaging or it's in glass or something. And I'm trying to be more careful about that from now on. You know, referring to it as more sustainable is obviously more correct. And that might not matter to you so much, but it does to me. I want to be clear about what I'm recommending, so I need to be more careful with that in the future, basically. Personally, I prefer terms like sustainability, you know, living more sustainable. I prefer to refer to it as that because that is more of what I mean when I say that's how we live. Of course, I do still create a lot of waste, which I'm constantly trying to change. I know there are a lot of other influencers who prefer terms like low impact or low waste living and that sort of thing, and I can understand that. I think maybe if we redefined what it meant, it just makes it a bit clearer for people. So I hope that's been helpful. I just wanted to do the shout out to somebody that I've been following on Instagram for a long time. Their Instagram handle is Chris Lays Photos, and she's a fellow vegan activist who also cares about sustainability like myself. So do go and check out her Instagram. She's been an important member of my little Instagram community. So I hope that's been helpful today. I have kind of rushed through this a bit because my baby's no longer sleeping except when she's on my lap, which does cause some issues, but that's part of being a mum. So if you enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe, because that does really help me out, and I'll see you on the next video.